Welcome once again to the Party of One podcast, the actual play RPG podcast where the gaming table is always set for two. I'm your host as always, Jeff Stormer. This week on the show, I am joined once again by Grant for a game of What's So Cool About Doomed Self-Loathing. What's So Cool About Doomed Self-Loathing is a micro-RPG about playing self-loathing superheroes facing the implausible threats of magical neoliberalism. Inspired by superhero stories like Flex Mentallo, Doom Patrol, Constantine, that sort of 90s trend of mystery men fits into this. That trend of tragic 80s and 90s alt-punk superhero rejects. It is a game that has you play broken, maladjusted superheroes trying their best to fix an unjust world. Obviously, I am a sucker for this type of story. Like, this is the comic books that made me love comic books. These all play a really critical role in my heart, and I think we were able to tell, like, a really special, wonderful, dark, little, weird superhero story that I think you're really going to enjoy listening to. You can find more information about What's So Cool About Doom Self-Loathing at aaronking.itch.io, or check the show notes for more information. Grant, you know from his previous appearance on the show when we played his game Last Shooting, he is also a cast member on the currently crowdfunding audio drama The Disappearances of Lydia Fontaine. The Disappearances of Lydia Fontaine is an independent audio drama set in a deceptively familiar world of big data, perpetual surveillance, and machine-mediated communication, following Lydia and her friends as they struggle to discover the secrets of her identity, survive the feud over her inheritance, and unravel the mysteries of her grandfather's supernatural dominions. It weaves bitter family feuds and high-stakes intrigue together with light sci-fi, fantasy, and sci-punk elements to create a magical, surrealist audio drama about secrets, grudges, and legacies, old books, big data, and the power of infinite knowledge. The show is currently on Kickstarter. I would love for you to go back it and make it a reality. You can find more information about The Disappearances of Lydia Fontaine and its Kickstarter in the show notes. And before we dive in, a special thank you to Alex Keene, our newest backer on Patreon. Thank you for supporting the show as well as everything else that we do. There's some pretty cool stuff coming to the Patreon in the coming months, so now is a great time to check it out. You can find more information about the Patreon at patreon.com/JeffStormer. And with all that said, let's go ahead and throw it over to me in the past so that he can get started with the show. Take it past me. Thanks, future me. I am, once again, so delighted. I have the distinct pleasure. I'm sitting down once again with Grant. Grant, thank you so much for coming back on Party of One.
Yeah, of course. I mean, me and future you have been hanging out a lot since I was on the show before.
Wow.
So that's been great.
Wow. Okay, that's fine. You know what? This has been a great recording. I think we're going to wrap it up here. I think we're done here.
It's near future you if it helps. You'll get there soon, I promise.
Okay, you know what? I do. It's giving me something to look forward to, and I appreciate that a lot. So before we get into everything else we're going to talk about today, why don't you take a moment and let our lovely listeners at home know about anything you've got going on that you might want them to know about?
Sure, of course. Now, as mentioned in my one previous appearance, would be happy to be on Party of One anytime, but I have had a bit of a kick in the seat of the pants because I am here as part of sort of a self-directed promotional tour for a brand new audio drama, independently produced, written, directed by people with day jobs, trust me, called The Disappearances of Lydia Fontaine. I've been cast in it, friend of the show, Riley Hopkins is cast in it. I'm
friend of the show, Anime Sickos Tom, also cast in it.
Yes. We are brothers.
Love this.
No, we're not. I got people's real names confused. Never.
Fair and valid.
But yes, what it is a magical surrealist journey about three young people trying to figure out the twisted plans and machinations of this very, very powerful family, of which one of them turns out to be an estranged member. It is about the digital panopticon. It is about a talking bird. And it is about a cadre of scheming uncles, of which I play one. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I love it dearly, and I love it so much. I want to know what happens next, and the only way they will tell me what happens next is if we make those further episodes, and that is where the currently running Kickstarter campaign comes in. Its last full day is July 2nd, so I would really, really appreciate it if people would go to lydiadisappears.com. That's where you're you're going to be able to listen to the episode, as well as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you're listening to Party of One. I bet you can find The Disappearances of Leah Fontaine in addition to the website. But the website will also have a link to that ongoing Kickstarter campaign. I'm going to click it right now. I'm going to scroll down and see all of the really enticing rewards available to you. Oh, wow. Blooper reel. Great stuff. But I know from just living life in the world that the way you get to a goal isn't just, people scrolling down to the big name rewards, but enough people doing $5, $10 at a time, that adds up. Believe me. And it's going to make this show that I care about very dearly and think just about anybody listening to this is going to find something in it they enjoy, even if it is Carol the ACAB MILF, a surprise breakout character of our premiere day stream.
Now, is it a surprise though? Do you look at the character of Carol the ACAB MILF and be like, well, apparently the fans responded to Carol the ACAB. I'm challenging your use of the word surprise here specifically.
She's not the title character. Maybe season 2. That's all I'm going to say.
Valid. I am so excited. Speaking of like urban surrealism and a kind of like modern day through a funhouse mirror, possibly cadres of scheming uncles and talking birds. We haven't decided that far ahead yet, but it's not off the table at the same time. We are playing a game that I am genuinely so fucking excited for. We are playing What's So Cool About Doomed Self-Loathing, which is a game by Aaron King, specifically about weird, broken superheroes trying to make a life and protect people in a world haunted by the most horrifying monster of all, that is neoliberalism. What is it about this game that's got you excited today?
Well, for one, the title.
Great title.
Big draw.
Top tier title.
But yeah, like this is a game that wears its influences on its sleeve. In fact, the last page is just its influences, which are 3 separate Doom Patrol runs and the television adaptation of Doom Patrol.
Yes. It is Doom Patrol by Arnold Drake and Bruno Preniani, Doom Patrol by Rachel Pollack, Lynn Medley, Todd McKeever et al., Doom Patrol the TV show, and I guess Doom Patrol by Grant Morrison, Richard Case et al., though parts of it have not aged well, which is a very good suggested media list. I appreciate that a lot. I also like Doom Patrol, and specifically the original Grant Morrison run are reasons that I studied comic books in school. They are the reason that I like devoted my life to superhero stories. And so like this energy feels, and it's the kind of that run of Doom Patrol is like unfortunately timeless in a way, in the sense that it is constantly feels like it could have been written today. Like it every time you look, like every time I think about like the general vibe, I'm like, oh, that feels modern in a way that I really wish it hadn't been written in 1992.
At this moment, I wish I could say, oh yeah, I'm looking at it on my shelf right now, but no, my comics shelf is in a different room. That would be a lie. But I have my novels in the room where my recording setup is.
I appreciate that I appreciate your commitment to podcast honesty, despite the fact that no one could have proven otherwise. Like, I appreciate that. That shows a level of ethics that I think is admirable in today's culture. So the big pitch of the game, Thatcher and Reagan are gone, but their racist and homophobic policies live on as a shambling beast called neoliberalism. The counterculture is commodified and commercialized, sold in department stores, and available for 10 for a penny from newsprint music catalogs. Shit. Who are we anyway? So we have created a pair of 90s weirdo dirtbag heroes. Would you like to introduce your character first, or should I?
I can go. I can start us off.
It's fantastic.
Why don't I sent you a short little bit of things answering pretty much all the questions in the character creation. I'm just going to quote myself. Let's see.
Yeah.
Maybe I should have edited this. We'll see.
It's the nature of podcasts. It's live audio, baby.
So my character's named Anahita. Anahita failed out of dental school when she melted the face off the person she was working on. The tools in her hands dripped away into a puddle of steel on the floor. She couldn't drive home because the steering wheel turned to smoking acrid sludge in her hands. Anahita has an uncontrollable death touch, corroding and liquefying anything she comes into contact with, suddenly appearing in full force on that day. So she disappeared from life. Sometimes people wonder what happened to that girl they knew, but how do you reach out when you can't hold a phone? What would you even say if you walked up in person? Of course, if you can't get too close to anyone without hurting them, this world has people worth hurting. Anahita wears a skin-tight suit. I'm imagining this in a comic, just totally blacked out inks. No highlight, no shine, just a void. But you don't see much of it beneath her huge strapped beige overcoat. The hem stops around her knee, but the cuffs drag on the ground. The collar flips up into a full hood, under which only her teeth and nose are visible. The teeth sort of glow in a void head-on, but the nose pokes out in profile spatially. But she still loves music. She has a knack for recognizing the influences of any piece of music, even finding lines and connections the composer or songwriter weren't conscious of. She's also memorized the name of every star and constellation across many different systems and cultures of astronomy.
I love both of those details. Incredible.
You gotta have hobbies that don't include physical touch.
That's true.
Yeah. So when I picture her, like, it's not in the art of any of the artists that are known for their Doom Patrol work. It's Jamie Hewlett. I'm thinking very Tank Girl.
Sure.
When I picture that look I described. Yeah.
Absolutely. I see it in an instant. The vibe is dead on. I love it.
He did guess for at least one Doom Patrol.
The exact same thing, because I sent you a bunch of text as well. And I'm gonna add a little bit to this because I'm starting to flesh it out in my head.
Sure.
I am playing the Red Remora, alias Kirby Stanson. You remember the Red Remora, right? I mean, of course you remember the Red. Everybody remembers the Red Remora. She was a comic strip hero from, the olden days, the cape and cowl days. The type: fedora, domino mask, grapple gun. She was punch the bad guys, save the day. The classic is an understatement. You remember reading those comic strips, right? I mean, at least Kirby really hopes that you remember those comic strips. It's really important to Kirby that you remember those comic strips, because Kirby was the Red Remora in the real world because of those comic strips. Kirby has the ability to move in memory. It's a kind of subjective time travel. It's a little bit Freddy Krueger. It's if you remember interacting with the Red Remora, whether that is in person or via a comic book, a film serial, whatever, she can step into those memories, interact with the world, and then have those interactions become reality. This power was huge when everyone was pulling Red Remora comics off of the shelves. It is considerably less powerful now that she is a footnote in the "Who used to be a member of the Hero Society" guidebook. She can't create new memories. It's not that one episode of Torchwood where the guy was in everybody's memories, or the exact same episode of Rick and Morty that had a bunch of side characters also show up in people's memories. But if you have that memory of her, whether it is in reality or comic book form, she can change something about that moment and have that change reflect the real world. This came to me in a very literal dream last night, and I've been thinking about it, which feels telling. Like, that feels like a sign that this is the character to play today. And I've been thinking about the inner workings of this particular power set all day when I should have been working. I'm so excited. And so these are our characters. And let me ask, I think, Let me ask you, since we're kind of like
Yeah.
co-GMing this, where do we want to like kick things off?
Let's see. I think we got to cut to the chase. It's just a question of what the chase is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are some options in the book if we want to roll a d6 and go from there, or if like we can also build something.
Yeah.
We can also build something on our own.
I do love the idea of asking fate and perhaps telling fate to go shove itself. Let's see what the dice has to say.
We got a 2, and that is God's second son Harrison has come into his powers. Only the bastard isn't ready to sacrifice himself. He wants a constant supply of pizza and new video games. And I'm not crazy feeling it, but I do want to tell fate to go shove it, but also like but that's partially because I read 5 and 6. If you take a look at 5 and 6, like both of them are so juicy that I feel like those are what the direction that I'm getting pulled in.
Each of these I think speaks very strongly to one of our characters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So then let me propose something.
Sure.
Is this the Jeff Stormer answer? Is it both?
Of course it is.
Is it? So, which would you like to read, number 5 or number 6?
I'll read number 5. Entry 5, which is going to suggest half of our adventure. Says that retro traditionalist normies have sanitized our personal timelines, and now we're stuck as our best selves, at least according to them. Men wear ties and go to work, women prepare the meals, and anyone else is forced into these binary ways of living. Can we find our true selves? Can we overthrow the normalizers? And can we convince those of us who like it better here to return to our freakish lives?
And number 6 is a classic villain no one remembers is back to perform gimmick-based crimes, and I guess we should stop them, but their dumb gimmicks are so effective on us, drenched as we are in irony and dismissal. And maybe this villain has a point, you know? Who's really hurt by their crimes? Oh shit, I just got turned into a board game piece or something. So, the pitch that I want to throw to you is that both of these are happening at once, which is to say, we have been zapped into a, like, we have, like, the world has been remade into a marketable, cartoonified comic book reality.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like, this
is the Saturday morning Watchmen of our comic book run.
We have been turned into Watchmen babies. Like, yes, the world has been, like, the edge, something bigger than us has sanded off the edges of our reality and, like, reduced conflict to hero punches villain and, like, has removed all of the subtlety and difficult to absorb pieces. And we are going to collectively become aware of that and figure out how to fight against it if we both want to fight against it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So my big question, and this is a great question to ask when introducing a character for the first time, is how is reality, like, what is Anahita's worst comic book MCU Disney-fied reality look like?
All right, so she is not, like, hanging out in the wilds under bridges in her big coat. No, she has a job. Remember, all of this went bad with one very bad day in dental school. So she works at a dental practice. She's not a dentist. No. This is from retro traditionalist normies. She is the receptionist.
Sure.
And so she's sitting there checking people in, handing them their insurance forms, which is probably the best way to arrange healthcare. But when the other phone rings with the big blinking light, then she knows that it's one of those calls, and it's time to make a hasty exit and put on her big coat and go save the day.
I love this. I adore this. And I think, like, as Anahita like zips across the like rooftop to rooftop en route to this case, peeking out from a window is Kirby Stanson, ace reporter.
Uh-huh.
And is like gonna go snap photos of a battle in action. And I think that the what is the most, I guess it's gotta be a bank robbery. If we're thinking most like comic booky, but also most like status quo enforcing superhero threat that two people could find themselves facing when the threads start to unravel. It's got to be somebody is robbing. Like, that feels like the most like, I'm gonna punch you for disrupting the flow of capital today. Haha.
So Kirby rolls up. Is there a Kirby car? What's the situation? What's the transit?
Matching red car to match her red. Nope, it's got to be a yellow cab. It's got to be pulls up in a cab, gives a tip of her hat to the cab driver. I think Kirby has a car in real life. Like, has like a red. It's not a nice red car, but like has a red car. And now is like riding in a cab, like doing the whole Lois Lane cab driver shtick as she pulls up in front of this bank robbery in process.
Okay. All right. So, as you roll up, there is a peal, a report of like Tommy gun fire, and someone in like a hastily made cloth mask pops their head out of the bank and shouts, "All right, nobody come in. We want a fueled up helicopter, and if anybody makes any sudden moves, if anybody tries to come in, then the water treatment plant gets it." And he waves a long-range remote detonator, which is clearly a bit of technology that you can identify from sight because of the blinking lights and the long extendable antenna.
Absolutely. And I think Kirby, frozen with fright, unable to go inside. I'm going to roll some dice here because I think this is the first moment. This is the first moment I think we're going to pull on the thread of reality a little bit. Because I think what I want to roll for is, I wonder if, like, this is me. This is what I'm going to say what I want, and I'm rolling dice to get what I want. And what I want is for one of these bank robbers to remember a Red Remora comic from have that memory buried beneath the surface so that my powers can kind of flood back to me in a dramatic fashion. That feels like a satisfying beat here.
Yeah.
All right. So when we want to resolve things that are particularly uncertain or risky, we're going to roll 2 dice, add them together. That is a 6. And then add 1 for any relevant advantages, such as an applicable power, a situational advantage, esoteric knowledge, or looking cool. And then subtract 1 for disadvantages. So I'm gonna go ahead and claim my power as a +1 here, and here's why.
Naturally.
Because I think in this instance, the idea that memory is not a thing that is like real, the idea that memory like is not real in that way feels elastic in a way that even as reality has been undone, we can still kind of pull on that as a thread and sort of pull it out from the ether, so to speak. And I'm going to see if I've got one more +1 that I can pull in to get me at 8 or higher. I'm going to pull in. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pull in. Here's the detail. Here's what we see. And we see this laid out on the page, right? Like there's a panel that is interspersed into this. A panel that is interspersed into this is in the styling of the comic book page changes from like that sort of modernish 80s Bronze Age style into a full-on worn paper CMYK Golden Age comic of a goon with a Tommy gun saying the exact same thing. And it is like from an original run Red Remora comic, like from like 80 years ago. And so it's pulling on the fact that like this reality is pulling on stories that were told about the Red Remora. And so like that is the thing that I'm going to say. Are there any disadvantages that will push me out of that 8, do you think?
Nothing particular comes to mind. You can start off strong. I don't mind.
Okay. This feels like a good like initial, because I think this is also going to be a fairly like small win of like having the moment. Like I think Kirby is outside like trying to snap a photo, has this flash of a comic book panel, has a flash of like this bank robber reading a story, like reading this and like flipping a page and going like, I could probably take the Red Remora. And suddenly I am standing inside the bank in a costume that I have never seen before. Fuck. Okay. Didn't see that coming. I don't know what to do with this. What is Anahita doing?
Let's light her up.
Oh, shit. Mind you, I'm saying shit, but all of the swear words are like Wingding's font because we're in the sanitized
There's
world.
a word for that. It starts with a G, I think. It's something. It doesn't matter.
Yes, I know what you're talking about. It doesn't matter.
I think.
I think it is. I think you're correct. What's Anahita doing at the same time?
Just like you said, running across rooftops, the big sleeves of her big coat trailing behind. Is she Naruto running under there? It's so shapeless, you'll never know.
Love it.
And she gets to the top of the bank and then thinks to herself and like slips off the boots of her, like, what is the thing that she can't eat through? The one thing that her like bodysuit has to be made of so she doesn't just like sink to the core of the earth. Is it just asbestos? Like, okay, when you say 1990, we're like just like sci-fi technobabble stuff. Like we're in the realm of unstable molecules.
Yeah, I was gonna also say like it's either leather or spandex in a very self-aware way.
But whatever it is, we'll leave that to people's no prizes at home. She slips off the boots and just stands in place as she slowly sinks through the ceiling as it hisses and bubbles around her. She's gonna get the drop on everybody. Do you want me to make a roll here or
go ahead and make a roll
later when she appears? Okay, sure. So I'm going to add 1 to this roll for an applicable power. And you know what? I think planning your entrance to drop in from the ceiling and do a cool landing is looking cool. So I'm going to call this a +2.
That feels good.
And an 11 plus 2 is 13.
That's gonna. Here's what I'm gonna GM this for a moment and throw you something very big.
Sure.
I think that did too well.
Okay.
Because I had and feel free to either X card this or reposition it if this feels like too much. But like given Anahita's power set and like whole deal, it feels like a very good breaking of that moment. If you break through, you land on somebody and you start and they start melting.
Yes. Like one of the bank robbers is just out, and it's this collision because like if we're talking like fully metatextually, the Red Remora existed in the time that we're being thrown to. There's something familiar, like you belong here. Anahita is very much the edgy anti-hero that was not a part of the scene in this time we're being thrown back to. So it's really, really dissonant, even her successes. And so that it feels, I think she starts to notice like, wait, where are all my gradients? Why why is the world like flat color? Where are all my digital effects?
I love that. I really, really adore that. That's great. That feels wonderful. Because I think that like the effect of like you have started to burn someone in that way, like you're right, it undoes the logic of the world, because like that's never a power that is like on the table, because it is based in such a violence that it's kind of incompatible with this world that has been established. I'm trying to think like how like I think that the other the other bank robbers, having already pointed their Tommy guns at Kirby turned Red Remora, now just like back up in abject horror, almost glitching out, not really sure how to proceed. It's the fucking what is it? There's like a Venture Brothers moment where people are like, "No man, we're just it's God, it's not OSI and Venture Brothers, but there's another G.I. Joe thing where somebody actually shoots them and they go, "Whoa, man, that's fucked up." Whoa.
Yeah.
That's the energy that I think I get from these bank robbers, is a shade of like, what the fuck are you doing?
Well, it looks like it's time for a team up once again. Again? Have we
done this before?
We've done things. Is this one of the things?
We're here. This has to be one of the... Wait. You don't do this. And I think as Kirby says that, her jacket, which is like, pristine and sleek, is now like in an instant. It's from one panel to the next. Like panel 1 is her saying wait, and then panel 2, her jacket is like wrinkled and stained, and her hat, previously like sharply steamed, is now like old and floppy and beaten down. And you don't do this. You don't do From the Skylight Heroes stuff, right?
Let's see how it goes.
Okay. Yeah. Pulls out a grapple gun to kind of tangle up these bank robbers. What is Anahita going to do to stop these bank robbers? And we'll both roll.
She's going for that detonator. You got to save the water treatment plant. So yeah, like it's a gloves off, just lunge for it.
So I think that what I'm going to do is aim my grapple gun at a girder, because I am always aiming at a girder. There's always a girder to aim from when you are shooting a grapple gun. And I'm going to like ricochet it off of that girder, bounce it around, do an elaborate elaborate ricochet attack to harmlessly tie up one of these bank robbers. I think I can add +1 for a cool for a gadget or like a tool that will help me?
Yeah. Let's see. You know what? I'm not going to put any minuses on you because I can't think of one, but just wait till next time. I'm going to percolate.
I'm excited. Think on it. Sit on it, think on it, cuz I'm doing the exact same thing. I think this is a good moment to not be giving ourselves disadvantages, because it's going to allow us to like take control and figure out that we're being fucked with, which is going to open the door for some very ugly disadvantages later.
The good stuff can come from.
That is a 7 + 1 is 8 exactly.
All right. So, you were going for who are you after again?
I think my goal is to tie up one of these bank robbers. But I think I would I think that on a success, I want something much bigger and much weirder to happen.
Yeah. So your grapple line, like bouncing around the girders, like perfectly draws the emblem, like the emblem on your calling card, because of course you have a calling card, obviously. and it falls down around the bank robbers and like pulls them into that tight little bundle of like four guys with like striped burglar uniforms sitting down back to back with their legs splayed out, right?
I'm going to throw an even bigger twist onto that to really reflect it getting at the heart of like what we're trying for in this encounter specifically. I think the lead bank robber that I'm trying to tie up, that happens, and then when I pull the grapple gun to kind of like Batman hang them upside down, they smash the floor, they hit their face, and they are rendered an absolute bloody mess in a way that does not happen in the fiction. Like it is like another one of those moments of reality, right? Like it is another one of those like, oh God, I thought I was just gonna like kind of like pull you up, but I've kind of pulled your feet out from under you and you just face planted onto linoleum tile. Oh geez. And like that is another one of those. It's another Jenga block in the tower is pulled of us going like, oh, that's not how this is supposed to go. Oh, I think the simulation is crumbling.
Yeah, Anahita has recovered the detonator, and it's hollow. There's nothing in here.
That feels great. That feels like a great development, and like we're seeing the strings on what is all around us.
And look, wow, that's weird. Look back as she puts on her like her self-proof boots again. She looks back at her footprints and where she was standing waiting to make a move. It's hollow under the floor too, and not like the basement is down there. It's just empty.
Hey, is this fucked? This is fucked, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah. And like is just kind of like walking up to this this broken nose. That doesn't happen. You don't come through skylights, and this doesn't happen.
I mean, it happens if you hit them hard enough, but it doesn't. I don't know.
If you hit them hard enough, they just kind of fall over. They don't like that's going to disrupt their breathing for years to come.
I mean, when I hit people, I feel like usually it gets covered up by a potted plant or something. But that can't be right.
And I think is like taking a step back, doing the looking at her hands. Is this normal?
What do you think my name is?
Your Anahita. That. And like as she says that, you can see it like land on her tongue and kind of just feel like almost slimy or repulsive. Like you're Anna. No, that's not it. Like that's your name is. Your name's you're Renee. You're Renee.
I've never told you that name.
I'm gonna. Okay, then now what a great detail, and this is a moment, this is a good, I know exactly how I know that name, and it's a good moment to like lean on the horror of the powers a little bit.
Yeah.
What memory do you have with the fictional construct character, the Red Remora?
So what was the name of the super team that you have history with? The Hero Society. Okay.
The Hero Society.
So there was a Hero Society cartoon that was on the air when Anahita was a kid, but before she was Anahita. And Red Remora was not a main cast member, but by the third season, they started getting fun with it and doing some deep cuts. Right. So there is just a
Hero Society Unlimited. Sure.
Yeah. So there is a memory of like the one episode with the Red Remora cameo just playing in syndication while she was I don't know what she was into as a kid. Let's make something up. While while she was doing Spirograph, like she was a little kid when this cartoon was on.
And I think Kirby steps back, like, cracking hollow pieces of linoleum with particularly heavy steps. No, because with you were watching the cartoon and the spirograph, I shouldn't know that's not an interaction that we had.
No, it wasn't, and I would thank you not to go there. Not you. You weren't there.
And that is the moment it all snaps into place. And Ahita, what was on in that day when you were home? You faked being sick. You had you raided the fridge. You ate an entire pint of ice cream, and you were doing spirograph. You were watching TV. What was on the TV?
I mean, I remember it melting. It got so sticky.
It was awful. It was everywhere. It was on the carpet. It's nasty. What was on the TV?
The heel of my hand was sticking to the page, and the spirals didn't go right. It tore, and the news was on, and I thought it was so weird that they interrupted the superhero cartoon to talk about that real guy they caught.
The cartoon that they interrupted was Hero Society Unlimited episode 313. It was the dream puzzle. It was Dream Decipherers. It was the Dream Decipherers I'm trying to find the despotism, despoty. What's the word here?
It's despotism.
Despotism, thank you. The Dream Decipherer's despotism. Oh my god. And like now the costume has fully changed from like reporter clothes to a sleek, very like comic strip Green Hornet style outfit to like the worst slapdash Halloween costume that someone could have put together that they've also been wearing for years on end. And so like and she just like collapses back against a column. Oh fuck. Oh god. Oh god, I know your name because I watched a cartoon and I was in your memory. Oh god, I'm gonna be sick. Oh god.
Can I help you?
What else do you and I think like they're like you can see from beyond. Now you can see her pupils. Like previously they were Batman pupils and now they are pupils behind a domino mask. And Ahita, I need you to remember every annoying moment that you can remember, every awkward encounter, every horrible thing. I know this sucks, but I need you to start remembering things. And one of the bank robbers points a Tommy gun, and she just, you can leave.
We pump our water in from 2 cities up anyway. Gosh, what?
They privatized the entire ordeal. It was a land grab scheme. It fucking sucks. Stay with me and start remembering this shit.
All right, okay. What? So, in the cartoon or like in life?
Just anything. The messier thing you can remember, the better. Like, just tell me something.
All right. They had there was a commercial for that toy that my brother got for his birthday, and I knew it was a lie because that thing broke immediately. You couldn't play with it like they did on, and that's what I knew, that advertising was a lie. I guess I didn't think about it, but I never trusted anything they put on TV again the same way. The Dream Decipherer, his colors flickered in a way that I guess now look like an animation error, but I thought maybe it was part of the story. Maybe it was. The news story that interrupted the guy they had like in front of the courthouse was in those other colors, though. That's why I remember it. Like,
give me a roll here. And I'm going to
sure.
say take a -1 for supervillain intervention because we are pushing against the specific bounds of the rebuilt world that we exist in.
All right. Do I want to argue for any +1s to you know what? No, I'm just going to roll 2d6 -1. Let's go for it.
I think this system is working out nicely in terms of like
That's a 6, by the way, but please finish your thought.
The system of the person rolling says everything that they would get a +1 for, and the other person takes minuses feels like a good rhythm between the two of us. Great, a 6. What does that look like in play? What does
the GM tells you how things get worse for you and probably for your friends.
Yeah. I think that this indicates that we are pulling threads and like puts a spotlight on us. And like, how does reality violently snap back in this moment is the question. Like, violently in a sense of like, we are now going to be punished in some very specific cosmic way by whoever is doing this for exposing the artifice.
Mm-hmm,
what is coming to what is coming to punish us that we have to deal with?
I think like it's the Dream Devourer comes up from that void in the basement.
Yeah. Love that.
The void where a basement should have been, rather. Yeah.
Big Spider-Man the Spot or like parasite looking energy where it's very like monochromatic devouring of things. And I think I'm gonna roll here because I think that like my status has changed.
Okay. What is your intent with this roll?
I want to shoot this guy. I want to shoot the Dream Devourer. And I think the change that has occurred as like I am like stumbling back into reality is I don't have a grapple gun. Or like I do, but it's that like big ugly Rorschach style thing. What I have is a big fucking revolver.
I'm going to put a -1 because we are still at least 1 foot metaphorically in the realm of the Dream Devourer. This is his world.
We are. I'm going to, and I don't think I can really necessarily like put my other powers in play here. So I'm going to roll with a -1 and see what happens. That's a 3. Incredible. The timing of these rolls going strong at first and then really failing is remarkably almost intentional.
It's like the dice know we need to hit some difficulties because there's no amount of +1s in the world that was gonna
yeah.
So like you fire and they go like right through as if nothing. The bullets turn to puffs of smoke as they emerge from the other side of the Dream Devourer. Do you have a look for the Dream Devourer? Do you have a costume that comes to mind or an aesthetic?
I'm visualizing the Spot. I'm visualizing Parasite.
Right.
I'm visualizing maybe the other thing we can pull on, and we can kind of decide how this factors into the superhero costume aesthetic is I don't think it's the Intellect Devourer from Advanced Dungeons and Dragons 2nd edition. But whatever the fucking platypus was, that the psychic devouring platypus monster from Dungeons and Dragons 2nd edition.
Okay.
Where it floated in a cosmic cloud and ate your brain, but it was also very pointedly a fucking platypus. It had a bill.
However, his costume is all like monochromatic tuxedo, coat and tails, cape, like Night at the Opera, gentleman ghost ass outfit.
Yeah.
So he is like rising and floating And he just wants to tell you that, yeah, there have been times when I was satisfied with the dreams of those who slept, with the nightmares, with the flying, and he turns to Anahita, knowing, of course, the day job she has in this reality, with the teeth falling out. But
oh
now,
my god. Oh, that's good. Also, I found it. It's the Thought Eater from Dewey.
Thought Eater. I've got to look this guy up.
Don't worry. I just sent you on Discord the fucking guy.
Look at you.
Look at this boy. Anyway, neither here nor there. But for the listener, it is an emaciated platypus with teeth floating in a
change the vocal
goop.
performances in a second. Okay. But now there is only room for one dream. Everything else must be pruned and put to the service of the one remaining dream, the dream of peace, of order, of the better, safer, calmer yesterdays. Now, all those problems you thought you had, that brother that you haven't spoken to doesn't even exist here. There is nothing to distract you. No more tossing and turning from the dream of a pleasant world.
And I think Remora is like frozen in existential angst. What is Anahita doing as this is occurring? Also, because this is going to give me a chance to embody the dream devourer.
Yeah.
And I'm fucking stoked.
So the gloves are still off, which is fun to have made a character where that's both literal and figurative at the same time. And I think Anahita is like, she's been around the block a few times. She's been anti-heroing for a while. If someone comes out and tells you this is a constructed reality to bend the world into my ideology, like that's a bad thing. That's a person you want to stop. But this is a world where she has a job. This is a world where like it's a complicated thing being told that, hey, you can stay here and just have the pleasant, easy ride, or you can go back where your brother still exists and is alive, but you haven't spoken to him in 3 years. Mm-hmm. Like, where's she's expecting a temptation and not getting it. And so, like, because of the, like, as much as she believes that her natural life is not as ruled by tropes, without them, she is left confused and confounded for what action is expected of her all the same.
I like that.
So yeah, she's just gonna like go with the flow and say, well, the natural impulse when you pile all these on the balance is to just go for this guy's face and try to melt him. But I'm definitely taking that -1 for her heart's just not in it.
I like that. I really like that a lot. I think that's great. I think it's a good -1. Yeah, roll me -1.
Okay. It came up an 8 on the dot, even so, though. So sorry to say.
I know exactly why this works so well in this moment. I know precisely. Mm-hmm. It's because the Dream Devourer is leaning hard on like putting that moment of temptation out to the Remora, to the point where like he's kind of forgotten you exist a little bit. So like his like, you can go back and be what you were instead of what time has rendered you to be now. All of those little details that you burned away in pursuit of a dream that was never going to come, you can reclaim them in an instant. You can be the Remora again. And as this monologue is unfolding, Anahita is just coming straight up behind, gloves off, ready to do what Anahita does best.
So it doesn't smell good.
No.
And it certainly doesn't look good. But yeah.
It looks detailed in a way that is mortifying for this sort of like faux four-color aesthetic.
Yeah. I think there's layers, right? It burns from your like 4-color dot arrays to the full color printing, and then for the just over gradiented and over Photoshop, spot and burns of just get it out the door. We gave the colorer 6 hours to do this issue. Modern coloring.
And I think like as the Dream Devourer burns away, we come to, and you and I are both standing. We don't look like, the world around us still looks fake. Like we have not, I don't think the Dream Devourer was the person who has remade reality. I think this was a minion to a greater conspiracy, but like for the first time, you and I both look like ourselves. So like the shabby costume, and I think even taking it even a notch further, the costume isn't quite like as shabby. Like it is de-shabified just enough so that it looks like a suit that someone has worn for way too long instead of going full Halloween costume.
Right.
Like it has righted itself into being normal looking. Like this is the reality. And for the first time, we can look at each other and be like, oh, yep, there we are.
So, I thought that might have done more.
No, this guy's a schlub. There's somebody way worse that we're gonna have to deal with.
If there's two things that are always the case, I thought it would have done more, and there's someone else.
Yeah. Now do you want the bad news?
Lay it on me.
I know exactly who this fucker is. Hey, I said fucker. That's great.
Glad to have you back.
It's good to be back, buddy.
Why is knowing what to do the bad news?
When the Dream Devourer was monologuing, he ominously mentioned a brother, but I don't think he was talking about your brother.
Man, I hate this guy.
I hate this guy so much, and I'm gonna hate having to talk to my brother again for the first time in, oh fuck, 60 years? Jesus, that can't be right.
You moisturize or something?
I live as long as there are stories to tell about me, and frankly, I wish people would have shut the fuck up a long time ago. And we flash to, like a publisher's office, which was a detail that I was throwing in to kind of get at the capitalism of it, and then remembered the character name that I had assigned this character and forgot that there's a very literal connection there. We cut to a newspaper at like a publishing office, and they're in a green, like 3-piece suit, like looking over proofs and dailies and things, and on it is a page with these characters. Is Remora's brother, formerly the Emerald Eagle, also a much less popular superhero who has tried to claw his way back into making the world a more sanitized place.
So I think Anahita is just gonna like wave you off, like lift a finger and say like say silently, let me try, let me go talk to him. He doesn't know me, right?
Huh. That might just work. You got a knack for this, kid.
She shrugs, which you can barely tell under the big coat.
And I think that like as you turn along way, just, I'm really sorry about that.
That's all right. So yeah, I think the approach here, this is definitely going to be a role, and I think it's a role to just like talk to the Emerald Eagle here and try to see get him talking to see the shape of the plan. Like this is not she's not walking up on him to like melt him in half or anything. This is
give me that roll while I let in my cat.
Okay. Let's see. This doesn't use her powers. But there is situational knowledge in that, like,
I would buy that. Yeah. Especially, I think, like, there's a sequence very specifically where, I think there's a great beat where Anahita, like, walks out the door, has a pause and realizes, I don't know where the fuck this guy is. Especially because then that opens us up for like an entire sequence of like walking through memories together of like like establishing some backstory stuff here of like pulling in the backstory of this guy like through the mutual memories of Kirby and her brother.
They both see the memory of like 60 years ago, the last time they talked. They like, while searching for this guy, Anahita gets a clearer image of him. So there's the +1 on this approach to just get him talking. What's going on? So a 6 + 1 is a 7. So please tell me how things get worse.
Things get worse, I think, because oh, I know how things get worse. Oh, I know exactly how things get worse. We are looking into a mirror darkly, and thus the mirror is looking back. Mm-hmm. It is very specifically us like walking through these memories and Kirby showing all of these things. And the end result is that you end up in the Eagle's office. You end up in the office of the Metro City Eagle. And you get what you want, which is a chance to talk to this guy.
Is that the name of the newspaper, the Metro City Eagle?
Yes, and he is the superhero owner of the newspaper.
Okay.
You end up in his office, you get what you want, but he has a similar kind of power to the Remora, and like purposefully guides the path that you two walk so that like you see this is the patented Grant Morrison 80s, the hero that we thought was good was actually not so good, of the story of the Remora and of Kirby and her brother Simon. Kirby and Simon both like take it, like drafting ideas together and creating things, and Kirby being the one to sell it to a publisher without Simon's name on it, and like shamelessly going into the publication and creating this character and becoming beloved, and like watching her brother like kind of languish and like be completely forgotten and kind of throw her brother under the bus. So like seeing all of the justification for what he's doing fundamentally as you come for this confrontation.
So she'll walk in, and while on the beginning of this journey the plan was to just like sort of have an idea of where to steer the conversation, what he'd respond to. Instead, she just opens with, so, big swing at a second chance, huh? Just cutting right to the chase.
Oh, I had assumed this was going to be some kind of big talk me out of it speech.
Would you like one?
No, I had a whole monologue prepared about why I was right. I didn't quite expect. Kind of feels like the moment's lost a little bit.
I mean, I've been doing my research, newspaper people. Always got to get background. And I could absolutely wreck you right now, and maybe it would send me back where I came from, because I don't belong here. But pal, I don't belong there either.
Yeah. I mean, it ain't great, right? Like, it's... Like, what is there? Like, they said they're folding the paper.
Yeah, they do it in big machines. Sorry. I'm sorry.
I think, like pauses. That was a good joke. I actually wish one of our writers had written that. They're converting us to a 24-hour news network. 24 hours for the news. That feels absurd, right?
How much even happens in a day? About 24 hours. Yeah. All right, cool.
That one was the writers. We've got a very good team of joke writers. Everything that I built without my sister, they're just gonna write it off for tax purposes. What the fuck was the point of any of this?
I mean, what's the point of keeping it going then? You're a newspaper where nothing new is going to happen.
Yeah, and like stands up and pulls down the kind of face mask, the like eagle themed face mask of like, I'm also a hero, the thing that she never let me become. She took that from me, and we together, you, me, I even let her be a part of this. We could all go out there and do this together, and it would just be like it was. It would make sense. It doesn't make sense out there anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, man. One day I just started melting people and things.
Jesus.
And everywhere. And like, I don't know why. One day someone's going to tell me why, and I know I'm not going to like the answer.
I mean, you don't have to find out. If we stay here, we can just never have to find that answer out. There's no uncertainty in a world where we know what's going to happen.
Let's see. What is Kirby up to? Like, how much faith does Kirby have in Anahita to handle this?
I hate that question because I know the answers immediately. That this is the moment Anahita, or this is the moment Remora like shows up specifically. The like in a memory, like walks out of a newspaper, walks out of the comic pages that are on the desk, gun in hand. Did you get him to convince it, or am I doing things my way?
Your way? Wait a minute. You did not shoot people on that cartoon when I was a kid, man.
Yeah, that's a story kids tell.
Eagle, like, I don't know what to do here, but I miss my colors. I miss the deep inky blacks. That is gonna sound so dumb, but man, that's how I feel sometimes, and I just want to be where I can at least believe that I've got a choice.
And I think he like sinks in his chair. Give me a roll at +2, one for like making a really good point, and one for like I think an applicable power set being your use of Remora's powers at this point.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. I'll take that +2 roll, which gives me a 10. Hey,
we love to see it. Sinks in his chair. Promise you won't judge me if I send this all back to normal.
Yeah, man. And you two should be pen pals or something. You can always talk here, I guess.
As you are saying that, like all like the illustration style panel to panel starts to fall to a normal thing, and like at the finally you see a very old man in like a worn gray suit. Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen. And he pulls out like a Luger pistol from his desk and shoots the Remora squarely in the shoulder. She crumbles, not dead, but does crumble like a sack of shit. And she pulls her seat. Good to see you too, fucker. Can we go now? Jeez. God.
Okay. Do you trust me?
I mean, right now I'm losing a lot of blood, so sure.
All right. Anahita is going to try to make her pinky as small as possible to just melt the bullet out.
That's so funny. Roll me Roll me at a +1.
Yeah, that's using a power. That's just +1. Oh God, I hope this succeeds. 7. No, it does not succeed.
It works. It works.
Can I pitch you on how it very much doesn't?
Yes, please.
There's a flash forward. That as you turn the page, there's a like little caption box that says 3 days later, and the Eagle is publishing a story on the manhunt for Anahita, the murderer of Metro City's oldest and staunchest hero.
That feels really great. That feels great. And the closing sequence of that issue, right underneath that it is like a 9-panel grid. That's panels 1 through 6. Panels 7, 8, 9 are like a very, very old woman, like looking at this, holding a cane in her right hand. So she's favoring the other half of her body, smiling at this. It's not the happiest ending, but I'll take it. And we see her kind of hobble off. The Remora is dead. And that means that the person that was embodying the Remora is no longer the Remora. We see her walk off, and that is the end of the issue. Anahita is wanted by the police and by a rogue publishing house who also has dream manipulation powers. Our other hero is dead and has walked off into oblivion. What a good ending for a 1990s Bronze Age comic.
I mean, you wrote one of the books on such, so thank you. That means a lot.
That ripped. Thank you so much for playing this with me. What was your favorite moment from play?
I think just seeing that desiccated platypus was a joy, not necessarily
real joy in seeing the fucked up platypus. Listener, Google Thought Eater 2nd edition D&D if you haven't. You need to take a look at this guy. This is a fucked up little guy, and I love him.
But I think the moment in near the approach of the final confrontation, right, where I had the moment of finding like the next dramatic beat, and it felt a lot like being in Anahita's thought process to come up with why she would want to not be here anymore. What part of it would actually matter to her? That was really a fun moment personally. Jeff, what was your favorite part of playing this game today?
My favorite moment was, there's 2. One, the ending that you pitched was absolutely immaculate, and I spent it screaming. Like the manhunt, the newspaper cover, I could visualize the page, perfect last page. The other moment that like really jumped out at me that I adored, that I kind of like sat screaming with very specifically, I say this all as both an acknowledgement of a moment that I really loved and also a moment of deep personal turmoil and conflict, was realizing that the character that I had been playing also sucked in that kind of like undercutting mythology way that like comics of that era did. The immediate discomfort that I felt at having a character named Kirby Stanson and having to repeatedly say, man, Kirby treated people in comics real shitty like that.
Some cognitive dissonance there, frankly.
There was a real moment of dissonance of going like, that's not right. That don't feel right. But that's the joy of improvised storytelling, is you back yourself in a corner and go,
Please don't clip this, take it out of context.
Please don't, no matter what you do. This game was something special. Thank you so much for playing with me.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Real quick before we wrap up, where can people find you and your work online?
You can find me on Blue Sky and on co-host as My Name is Grant. You can find me on Twitter at GEN_Ironicus. What you're going to see me doing when this comes out is plugging LydiaDisappears.com, the disappearances of Lydia Fontaine, on Kickstarter through the 2nd of July. There's a little bit of the 3rd in there, time zone depending, so let's just say the 2nd to be safe.
Love that.
Yeah. Also, another thing that came to mind is one of my current shows is called Bizarre Podcast Space Puppets, where my very best friend and I am taking him week by week through the television program Farscape, which I think, if not an influence, has a huge commonality with the Doom Patrol TV show. It doesn't get talked about as an influence, so maybe it's just coincidence, but like, uh, uh, when Farscape is remembered for its legacy, I guess people talk about the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and there is a lot of surface level stuff there. It's very plain, clear, obvious, and like copped up to, or referenced by James Gunn. But the deeper stuff, the part about flawed people who, as they get closer and closer together, still find ways to fall apart and be terrible to one another in ways that are relatable, understandable, and a little bit tragic. Farscape was doing that before Doom Patrol. On television, at least, to be fair.
No, that's valid. That's real and valid. And like, it's funny to watch the ways in which Doom Patrol, in turn, when it comes to TV, it's funny to watch Doom Patrol in the comics develop a similar vibe in like a vastly different way. And then for when it comes to TV, for it to really take so much from Farscape as like, oh, this did what we're trying to do, but better. So why don't we lean into that vibe immediately as well? Like, it's fascinating to see those two in conversation. So I'm glad that you brought that up.
And there's puppets in it, and they're puking all over the place. It's great.
I mean, like, truly peak Henson Workshop. It's among the highlights of like, you're never going to get me to say a truly bad thing about getting to watch Henson Workshop puppets.
So you haven't watched that Thanksgiving movie. Okay, cool.
Fair, valid. This has been so much fun. Thank you so much for this. And for now, I'm going to throw it over to me in the future so that he can wrap up with the show. Take it, future me. Thanks, past me, and thanks again to Grant for coming onto the show. Wow, that game was something special and fun and weird and cool, and like, it just went in some really unexpected and delightful directions and like really encapsulated the kind of joy and energy that I get from this genre of superhero story that I love so much. Be sure to check the show notes for your own copy of What's So Cool About Doom Self-Loathing, and be sure to check out the crowdfund campaign for the disappearances of Lydia Fontaine. Back it, help make it a reality, help unlock more episodes. And be sure to follow Grant on Twitter, as long as that's still a fucking website, at Gen Ironicus. Then while you're on Twitter, follow us at Party of One Pod. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Party of One Podcast. Find us on TikTok at Party of One Podcast. Find us on Tumblr at Party of One Pod. Subscribe to our newsletter at buttondown.email/Party of One Podcast. And join our Discord community at bit.ly/Party of One Discord. If you enjoy the show, there's a lot of ways to support it. You can support us financially at patreon.com/JeffStormer or ko-fi.com/JeffStormer. You can give us a nice iTunes review, shout us out to a friend, give us some love on social media. You can buy some Party of One merch at bit.ly/Party of One merch. Or if you're looking for more great podcast content, you can check out All My Fantasy Children, which is a character creation, storytelling, and world building podcast that I make with my best friend in the world, Aaron Catano Saez. We take a listener submitted prompt and spin it into an original fantasy character, populating a shared universe one story at a time. You can also check out Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast, which is an actual play about a heartless witch, a cozy house, and the many people making their homes inside. Both of those you can find wherever you get your podcasts. Party of One is, as always, produced and edited by Jeff Stormer and Jen Frank. Music for the show comes from the song Infinite Lives by Mega Ran, featuring the D&D Sluggers, and the Party of One logo is by Evan Rowland. If you'd like to inquire about advertising rates, coming on the show as a guest, or about press coverage of the show, you can email me at partyofonepodcast@gmail.com. And unless I am mistaken, that is all we do here. So until next time, thank you so much for listening. Remember to fight the forces of fascism every single day. Remember that self-love and self-care are radical and defiant acts of resistance. And as always, party on, everybody.